Hi, it's John and welcome along to a podcast. Today's episode is all about the conjunction, and in today's meditation I was first shown the process of how rain is formed and flows down the mountaintops, down through rivers and estuaries all the way down into the ocean, and then repeats this cycle of being heated by the sun, rising as steam up into the air, and then falling back down as rain, and so on. And I was first shown this process in reverse. So imagine all the water being in the ocean and then flowing into the estuaries, the rivers that feed the ocean, and then going all the way up to the source, the highest point in the land where the source of the river is, and then from there going up to the sky as rain, all of this in reverse. And I was being shown this because there's a single point that this all starts from, where all water is one within the ocean, and that as the ocean then fragments into rivers in this reverse process, that this process was shown to me as an illustration so that I could understand the process of multiple timelines, how they both separate and fragment, and then how they rejoin together. And I find it really fascinating, the concept of multiple timelines. And so a universe where there's lots of different versions of this reality all going on at the same time, and that we are in one of these timelines. Forgive me, I'm just picking up what my dog leaves behind. So yeah, these multiple timelines were shown to me like, imagine starting with planet Earth, and so the planet Earth can be viewed initially as one timeline, and then from this, through the thoughts, feelings and actions of every being that lives on the planet, including the planet itself, that the planet's timelines fragment, and so they or multiply, so they become many timelines, and all timelines run in parallel. And so just like in this analogy of the ocean and the rivers and rain, the planet is the ocean, and then the fragments are the timelines, and that they come together as one again when they reach the source and go flow up like rain into the clouds. And I'm just going to focus a bit more on the analogy of the timelines themselves, where the planet starts in a cycle of fragmenting into multiple timelines. These multiple timelines coexist in parallel, and they continue to branch out and expand. And then over time there's this process of them being, each timeline being attracted back to each other like a gravitational pull. And some timelines are good, some timelines are bad, if you like, so they have like high frequency and low frequency and everything in between. And what happens in this process is that as all the timelines continue to attract each other, eventually this conjunction happens where all timelines become very close together again, and they become like one. But I love the word conjunction, and conjunction, I had to look it up because I was like, what does that mean in this context? And it was shown that conjunction really means that the timelines don't actually merge together, they coexist very closely together. And I feel like, to the extent that you and I could be living in different timelines, and yet they're so close together that we're able to communicate with each other and it's almost like they don't exist, and yet they have a different past and a different future. And at this point, we happen to be close together and connecting. And so through these continued cycles of, in this context, the planet going through the start of the fragmentation of timelines, and then over thousands of years, the timelines expanding and fragmenting, and then gradually pulling themselves back together, being attracted to each other and coming back together into conjunction, that I was shown that it's been really hard for the golden ages of humanity to survive these conjunctions, because every time the timelines come back together, there's this challenge of the vibration drift of each timeline. So let's imagine there's timeline A and timeline B, and timeline A is really, really high vibration, and timeline B is real low vibration. When they're fragmented and far apart, it's easy for their vibrations to be different. And then as they are attracted to each other and become closer and closer, and then they come really close in the conjunction, at that point it's very hard for them to coexist. And what can happen is that they can kind of lose each other in each other. So they would become one. They would effectively lose the vibration of either extreme and become the average of both, like a midpoint. And this has a massive kind of destructive nature, in that it's just very difficult for, low vibration B to be and high vibration A to exist in the average of the two. Like they're not really capable of doing so. And through the golden ages of humanity, like ancient Egyptians and the Atlantis and Lemuria, and like all these different and Avalon, like all these different golden ages where humanity and many other living things and the planet have gone through ascension cycles. Their timelines have fragmented, and then they've come back together. They've come closer and closer together. And then there's been, when they rejoin, there's been too much of a difference between them, and they've not been able to sustain this. And so their cycle of that golden age has ended, and the world gone through a massive shift. And I was asking my guides, like, what's been the biggest success of one of our golden ages on Earth? And they said one of them has made it in part, like at least one timeline made it through a conjunction, but not all. And really, the golden age, if you like, I'm feeling it was around like 10% survived, like 10% survived the conjunction. So that it wasn't felt like a massive success. It was more like an accident. And it helps explain a bit about how some of these, like parts of these golden ages still exist, like they still echo into this reality. And it feels like that surviving timeline of around 10% of the knowledge and wisdom and the DNA and the gifts and everything, that's how far they got. Come on, Patch. So the real excitement for us is that we have the opportunity to go through this conjunction together and to survive it, like to ascend through it. And so instead of our lowest vibration and our highest vibrations cancelling each other out or causing like a big negative impact, that there's actually the opportunity for just being able to really get a lot better at it and be more successful in the future. Hi there. And what I find really exciting is that there's this opportunity for timelines to not just exist, but come really close together and allow, like imagine there's 1,000 fragmentations, 1,000 timelines, and that they come together nice and close. And in that reality, people can choose. They can choose those different vibrations of the timelines, and through the conjunction, where the narrowest point where all the timelines come closest together, that it just continues to work. That each timeline survives and works really well, and they coexist. And there's also this beautiful balancing effect where there will be, just as many lower vibrations as there are higher vibrations, and everything in between. So that feels exciting. It was also shown to me that the timelines themselves, not everyone is aware of this, and that because many of the timelines survive this upcoming conjunction, it's like it doesn't exist. And so there are people on timelines, and it feels like people on the higher timelines, the higher vibration, higher frequency timelines, won't really feel it. And in fact, even if they listen to this explanation, it won't really resonate because it doesn't exist in their timeline. It just doesn't exist for them. And I find that really beautiful. The other aspect of this is that there are many people that are aware of this, but they cannot see beyond the conjunction. And it feels like this is because their timeline, where it's a lower vibration, they would really love to control it. They'd really love to influence the outcome, but they can't, and they can't make their timeline higher. They just have to keep going through the conjunction, and they will remain in that timeline. If they're able to raise their vibrations as the conjunction happens, there's more of an opportunity for them to move into that timeline. And then finally, after the conjunction, there's just a continued opportunity for people to move as their frequencies change, to move between timelines freely and to choose their best vibration for them. It doesn't necessarily get harder or easier to shift timelines, to jump from a low vibration to a high vibration timeline. But the way these cycles are happening is that it'll be more likely for the timeline after the conjunction, for it to continue to maintain that vibration. So in other words, if you want to move from low to high, you would have to change timeline. And it's like a subconscious or higher self or direct conscious choice where someone can say, you can say out loud, I choose a higher timeline, I choose a higher vibration, I choose a world, a lifetime that has, more love, more unconditional love and compassion and equality for all. So yeah, if I end up drawing this, or have any better explanations, or receive any insights such as when this will happen, because it feels like relatively soon, and there's certainly nothing to be scared of. It just happens. It's the nature of reality. And thank you for joining me on this podcast. It was great to share my truth, and really enjoyable to take you out for a walk with me around the woods here in Scotland. And so until the next podcast, I'm sending my love from Scotland. I love you.